The 1970s owned the outdoors. Black kids in particular owned the outdoors. They transformed streets and alleys, empty lots and fire escapes into kingdoms of play. There were no adults supervising. There were no organized activities. There were no rules except the ones kids created themselves. The outdoors belonged to them, and they knew it. This wasn't exceptional childhood. This was normal. This was what every black kid experienced: the freedom to roam, the space to create, the understanding that the outdoors was yours to claim. You woke up, you went outside, you didn't come home until the streetlights came on. You were gone all day. No one knew exactly where you were or what you were doing, and that was fine. This freedom has largely disappeared. Modern childhood is supervised, structured, scheduled. Kids don't play outside alone. They don't roam neighborhoods. They don't claim the outdoors as theirs. Something has been lost in this transition. Some part of childhood itself has been erased. For black kids who lived through the 1970s, the memory of that freedom, that space, that possibility, it's profound. It's something that can't be replicated. It's something that defines a generation.
Stick fighting, the art of combat with found objects. Two kids with sticks fighting each other in the street or park. The sticks became swords, lightsabers, or just weapons in a spontaneous battle. It went on until someone got hurt or a parent yelled. Stick fighting was free entertainment that required nothing but imagination and available materials. It developed coordination, strategy, and understanding of physical space. It was violent play that burned energy and taught about consequences without serious harm. The weight of the stick in your hand, the sound when sticks collided, the strategy of moving around your opponent, the moment when you connected and felt the impact, running when the impact was too hard, the adrenaline. Stick fighting would be considered child abuse now. Parents would be arrested. Schools would respond with police. The tolerance for rough play has evaporated. Stick fighting was spontaneous, unsupervised play. It was boys working out aggression and competition without adults mediating. It was freedom and physicality in the same moment.
Playing in fire hydrant water, cool relief and community.
Fire hydrants opened by the city, or pride opened by kids, shooting water into the street. Kids ran through the water, cooled off, created rivers in the street. It was summer heat management and entertainment simultaneously. There was no air conditioning in many homes. Fire hydrant water was free cooling. It brought the entire neighborhood together. Kids from different blocks came for the water. It created community moments. The shock of cold water after summer heat, running through the spray, soaking wet clothes, other kids from everywhere appearing. The street transformed into a water park. The water pressure strong enough to knock you over if you weren't ready. Police arrest people for opening hydrants now. Water conservation is monitored. The spontaneity and freedom isn't allowed. Also, outdoor play is moved indoors. This was resourcefulness and community. It was claiming the infrastructure of the city for your own purposes. It was adults who understood kids needed cooling on hot days.
Double Dutch, the jump rope sport. Two people turning two ropes while one or more people jumped between them. The complexity increased as the jumpers got better. Songs accompanied the jumping, calling out rhythms and rules. Double Dutch required coordination, timing, rhythm, and community. It was a sport that girls particularly mastered, and it was competitive and skilled. It developed physicality and social bonding. The sound of the ropes hitting the ground in rhythm, jumping in at exactly the right moment. The songs that went with jumping, fancy footwork, staying in as long as possible. The community of girls gathered around, cheering and waiting their turn. Kids don't jump rope anymore. They don't gather on streets with ropes. The skill is gone. The knowledge of how to be part of a Double Dutch crew is lost. Double Dutch was skill development through play. It was community and competition. It was girls claiming the street as their space. It was culture being passed through generations of jumpers.
Stickball, baseball with a broomstick. Baseball played with a broomstick as a bat and a rubber ball, often on the street or in an empty lot. Bases could be marked by anything: a discarded tire, a corner, a fire hydrant. Stickball required no equipment except what could be found or cheaply purchased. It created competition and athletic development. It was the sport that every kid could play because it required nothing. The crack of the broomstick hitting the rubber ball, running the bases, arguments about whether you were out or safe, the drama of tied games, the community gathered to watch. Kids don't play in streets anymore. Equipment doesn't work in structured fields. The sport itself has become historical rather than current. Stickball was democracy in sport. Every kid could play. Equipment didn't matter. Skill and heart did. It was the sport of the streets, the sport of kids without money.
Chalk drawings, transforming concrete into art. Taking chalk and drawing on sidewalks and streets, elaborate pictures, games like hopscotch grids, messages, art. The concrete became a canvas. Chalk was cheap. Concrete was abundant. Drawing on sidewalks was free art. Kids expressed themselves. They created games. They made their neighborhoods more beautiful. The feeling of chalk on concrete, creating images that would only last until rain or foot traffic erased them. The impermanence of it. The freedom to create without judgment, because it would be gone anyway. Chalk art was temporary and free. It was community decoration. It was kids claiming the street as space that belonged to them.
Stoop sitting, the culture of gathered community. Sitting on the steps of buildings, stoops, for hours. Talking, watching the street, people watching, community gathering. The stoop was a gathering place. The stoop was where community happened, where generations mixed, where news was shared, where you learned about the neighborhood, where adults and kids gathered. The concrete warm under you in summer, other people arriving, sitting, joining the conversation, watching the street, hearing stories, being part of the informal governance of the block, the sense of belonging. People don't sit outside anymore. They're indoors with air conditioning and screens. The street culture has evaporated. Stoops are empty. The stoop was democracy. It was where you learned to be part of community. It was informal and inclusive. It was where society actually happened, not in institutions, but on the steps.
Handball, the simplest sport. A wall, a ball, hands. Hitting the ball against the wall, having it bounce back to you or a partner. Could be played alone or with others. Courts were painted on walls or just any wall would do. Handball required nothing but a wall and a ball. It developed hand-eye coordination, timing, and strategy. It was accessible to every kid. The sound of the ball hitting the wall, the rhythm of hitting and catching, playing against yourself or against someone else, improvement through practice, competition that was spontaneous. Kids don't use walls as recreation space anymore. Also, organized sports have replaced spontaneous games. Handball was pure physicality and presence. It was you versus the wall, you versus another person, you versus yourself. It required nothing but showed everything about your skill and character.
Running through the park at dusk, that specific freedom. When the sun started setting, but it wasn't completely dark yet. Kids would run through parks, exploring, playing, being wild. That time between day and night belonged to kids. Dusk time was when kids had maximum freedom. Adults were heading home or settling in for the evening. Streetlights weren't on yet. It was a window of absolute freedom. Running through the park as it got darker, the change in colors of the sky, other kids appearing like ghosts, the slight fear mixed with exhilaration, everything feeling possible. Parents call kids inside as soon as it gets dark. There's no dusk window anymore. Kids aren't allowed to roam in darkness. Supervision is constant. Dusk time was the liminal space where kids were most themselves. It was the time when rules loosened, when anything could happen. The freedom was total.
Bottle caps as currency and collectibles. Soda and beer bottles collected and traded like currency. Different caps had different value. They were used for games, traded for other items, collected obsessively. Bottle caps were free. You just needed to drink soda or collect them from gutters. But they had entire economies built around them. Different caps had different value. Collecting was competitive. Finding a rare cap, negotiating trades, the satisfaction of completing sets, the excitement of discovering a cap you needed, the entire economy of caps. Plastic caps replaced metal ones. The quality changed. Also, kids aren't outside collecting things anymore. Bottle cap economies were practiced in capitalism and trading. They created value from nothing. They were entire communities built on shared understanding of worth.
10. Making your own baseball cards. Drawing pictures of baseball players, or football players, or made-up players on index cards or cardboard, writing stats on the back, trading and collecting them. Commercial baseball cards were expensive. Making your own meant every kid could participate. It developed artistic skill and creativity. It created economy and culture. Drawing the player, getting the face right, inventing stats, trading your creations, the pride in a well-drawn card, the negotiations over value. Kids can't draw anymore. Also, commercial products have taken over the entire space. There's no room for homemade versions. Homemade cards were creative and democratic. They were about your skill, your imagination, your ability to create value. They were culture created by kids for kids.
11 tag games, the endless variations.
Tag in its infinite variations. Yet, freeze tag, shadow tag, TV tag, kick the can. Different rules created different games. A single game could last for hours with different rules added. Tag games required nothing, no equipment, no money. They developed physicality, strategy, and social skills. Different versions created complexity and evolution. Being it, the chase, the strategy of running, the relief of a safe base, the variations making the game new each time, hours disappearing into the game. Kids don't gather in numbers anymore. Space for running isn't available. Organized sports have replaced spontaneous games. Tag was pure play. It was community and physicality and strategy and creativity combined. Rules could be changed mid-game. The game evolved with the players.
Singing games, the songs that belonged to kids.
Games that accompanied songs. Down, Down, Baby, Miss Mary Mac, Eeny, Meeny, Miny, Mo. Songs that went with hand claps, jumps, or physical movement. Songs created structure for play. They passed through generations of kids. They were cultural transmission. They were fun and complex simultaneously. Learning the song and the movements, coordinating with other kids, getting faster and faster. The song becoming part of your body. The community of kids all knowing the same songs. Kids don't learn folk games anymore. Commercial music has replaced traditional songs. The culture has been disrupted. Singing games were oral tradition. They were how culture passed through generations. They were accessible and fun and taught coordination and community.
We've only scratched the surface. There are so many outdoor games, rules, and street memories that shaped a whole generation. If you grew up playing outside in the 70s, tell us what we missed. Your comment might be featured in part 2. And if these memories brought you back, subscribe for more stories that honor how we really grew up.